Hi there. Welcome to this National Improving Writing Programme video around tools for writing, specifically focusing today on openers. So first of all, here are the tools for writing benchmarks for openers for both first and second level. And we're going to get straight into it. So you can introduce openers through a 5-sentence story, and it is a super way of highlighting how openers can be used to structure the story, reducing the chances of children producing the and then type of stories that we often read. In order to familiarise the children with the story structure of opening, build-up, problem, resolution and ending, and the corresponding openers, you might ask the children to sort these jumbled cards out to create a short story. Once the children have sorted out the cards, take some time to discuss what helped them to work out the order and the role the openers had in helping move that story on. You might even begin to create a class list or a bank of openers that would come in handy when the children go to write their own 5-sentence stories. Modelling really is the key here if the children are to know how openers can be used to structure sentences and text. So before asking the children to have a go at writing their own 5-sentence stories, let the children hear you thinking aloud and choosing openers to create your own story. The openers in this table really are just some possible suggestions, and you might also invite children to choose an opener and contribute to your modelled story. So here's another example of some 5-sentence stories that you could use. You could select 5 openers that fit the story mountain approach and give a first sentence starter. The children can then orally rehearse for themselves and with a partner for the next 4 parts of the story. Remember that oral rehearsal is so important for them to hear how it sounds and to build it up for themselves. And once you've modelled the creation of the 5-sentence story, there are a few further ways that you can develop this activity. You might just ask the children to write their own story using exactly the same openers as you have just done. It's a really good scaffold. You might wish to provide the children with some visual cards to allow them to orally rehearse the story before writing it down. And you might extend the activity by asking the children to choose their own openers. You could extend this task even further again by asking the children to expand each of their sentences into a paragraph. This is a very scaffolded way of pupils producing a more developed story and a really great sense of achievement for struggling or for reluctant writers. And this is how you might want to differentiate the success criteria for that 5-sentence story. So everyone is using openers to sequence their writing, but you can break down the success criteria into differentiated sections for who you want to give it to. Here is a different context, a recounts text this time, and it's in the context of a memory of a school trip. You might want to have children look at the pictures of where they'd been or draw pictures of the school trip that they went on and ask them questions prompting the where and the when and with who and why did you go. And then you can model retelling the class trip using a selection of different openers. And you could keep that same 5-sentence story approach. You might want to differentiate the learning for different groups of learners in your class. Here in this example, they're named by colours, and you can see that there are a number of different openers on the next slide for different groups. So here would be the openers that you would want each of these groups to select from. You might have them on the tables where they can manipulate them and they can put them in order of what they want to say in their writing, and they can then use those prompts to orally rehearse what they're going to say with a partner before they begin to write. These cards really serve as a really important visual reminder when they come to write that recount for themselves independently. And here is the differentiated success criteria for this activity. You could also structure your writing by changing the openers. So, for example, you could start with a basic sentence and you could then ask the children to change the opener so that the sentence has a slightly different tone. So here we have the old king sat down. You could ask them to use an adverb, use a time connective, use an ing verb, an ed verb, perhaps use a simile or just a single word. There is no limit to the amount of different ways that you could change that opener. Here is a list of some other kind of ways that you could change the openers as well. There's quite a big list of different things you could do there. Offering the pupils a visual, a little image or a picture, and then asking them to change the opener of the sentence related to the image. You could take each of these openers and put them into an online spinner, so it really is a random choice activity, but children really like these kind of activities. You can then move into the powerful paragraphs, openers that are there to help build suspense and tension in the text. So in pairs, ask the children to finish the sentence using the opener that you have provided. And that's going to help them to create tension in their writing. You will need to model this first before asking the children to have a go. And this is a really nice way to bring poetry writing into the National Improving Writing programme. This example is using prepositions as openers. Remember, there are many aspects of literacy across the curriculum, so bringing in a probably underused genre is useful to give your lessons a bit of breadth and a bit of application of skills as well. And here's another preposition poem. You can really easily differentiate the success criteria by the amount of lines you would want to see, therefore having a minimum number of prepositions as openers. You could select the prepositions you expect the pupils to use, or you could give creative freedom to your learners for them to choose whichever preposition it was they wanted for themselves. Thank you for joining us for this National Writing Improvement Programme Tools for Writing session on openers. If you do need any further support with this, then please contact your local leads.